Susan again, and it's time for another installment of my Project 52, and this is week number 10. Now, I had mentioned last week that I typically will take 1 month and do the same kit for each month and change each month. Last week I used a kit that was very bold and purpley, and I felt like it kind of took over the pictures, and it wasn't really exactly what I wanted. So I may re-scrap it again. I like the way it looked, but I may re-scrap it again with this kit. But I chose a different kit for the next 3 weeks, and eventually I'll get back to the other one and probably change the kit too. But I'm still going to be using Dagi's Temptations, and we're using Day by Day, template number 2 in her group Day by Day 10. And so this is what it looks like when you first get it. Now you'll notice when I show you what I've done so far that I have changed it a little bit already. We're going to be using, like I said, we're going to be using a different kit this week. Time is just going by so fast. But this is the new kit that I'm going to use. It's designed by Colie's Corner, and it's called Love This Life, and it's available at GingerScraps. And we're going to be using that. So let's go ahead and close that, and we're going to close the template, and I'm going to show you where I am right now. I decided that I was going to do my pictures first because I wanted to do as much photo editing as I could. Unfortunately, this beautiful picture of our first spring flower is blurry. This picture, blurry. This picture, blurry. This picture, blurry. That's the best I could get them. I made the mistake and took a lot of pictures this week with my iPhone, and I have an iPhone 4, which is the very first generation, and the camera is really bad in it. So I'm committing to you guys that I'm going to be a better photographer from here on in and not rely on my iPhoto pictures. It's just so easy because it's there, but I'm not getting the memories that I want. So that's what I did. I also decided to change this in the middle here, so I get right here. I decided to change that. Instead of a photo, I changed it to journaling. And this was supposed to be a background, and I turned it into a picture. This was also a very blurry picture that I made small so that it was better. And also these two dinosaurs down here, down at the bottom, they don't need big pictures, but they were part of the week that we had. It was an egg that she got at a field trip that she put underwater, and it hatched a baby dinosaur. So this definitely needs to be in there. So I replaced this area right here with the heart and the blue. I replaced those and made those picture slots. So that's where we're going to start out with, and we'll go ahead and go over and get the papers and alpha and elements from the folder, and we will be doing that right now. I decided that my journaling was going to be green, and I always try to put a plain paper for my journaling because I gotta have the journaling be as clear as possible. It's real important for me. I have a husband who is a graphic designer and illustrator, and he is really big and really taught me about being clear and concise. Now, concise I haven't learned. I use way too many words, but I really try hard to make things visible, and if I write something that you can read it. That's why I also don't like when you take like elements and you put it over journaling. The journaling is part of my scrapping, so I don't want to cover it up. I want people to be able to read it. So anyway, this one is going to be this nice red, and again I'm dragging it over, hitting return, and hitting Option Command G to clip it to the paper. Clip the paper to what Dagi had made there. Okay, and this one is the background. So that one's an easy one. Just pull that one over here. You don't even need to group that one. That one will just be on the bottom. And let's see. I had this one. I think I was going to do this one here. And then there's this really neat green paper that has an interesting little texture to it. I'm going to put that there. And this one over here, I want to pull in a little bit of the red. So I got the plaid and making sure that the red part of it shows, so it ties into here, the red ties into here, and the green ties into here. And then this one down here, I'm going to also, I can't decide. I'm either going to do this one, because I think that might look really pretty down there, or do I want to duplicate this one and have that one be down there? I think the plaid looks better. Okay, so I've used all my papers, and I've gotten my papers down. Now once I'm sure that this is where I want my papers, then what I do is I click on it and hit Command E. And what that does is it ties it to the template, and it gets rid of all of the other extra of the paper that's actually digitally back there. So I click on it, Command E, click, Command E, click, Command E. Did I do this one yet? No, click Command E. Did I do this one? Command E. And then this one. I'm not using that one, so I threw that one away. Okay, so there we have it. We have our, let's go ahead and group the photos also with the Command E. I really like to do that because there's so many layers when you're working with these things. There's so many layers. Every paper, every flower, every photo is on a different layer in itself. So when you're sure you have your pictures and you're sure you have the placement that you want, go ahead and hit Command E, and that will flatten them so that they take up less space too. And when you save hundreds and hundreds of pages, you're going to want to have space. So those are the papers. And then we're going to move on. I'm using Bridge over here. That's the program that I'm using, Adobe Bridge. And it just holds my things over there. So Colie's Corners has done her alpha in sheets. Sometimes you have them separate and sometimes you have them in sheets. I happen to like sheets because you don't have to open as many files. So I'm going to do the title. I'm going to put the title here, and this is our week. So we're week 10, so I'm going to be putting week 10 in there. Now it's time for the alphas, and I actually am just going to drag them over and going to show you how we use these. I'm going to open them up. There we go. And they're all here. What I like to do is take them off the page here, and I'm going to drag them in. First I'm going to start with my upper. They're named upper, lower, and numbers. So I'm going to take from my upper, I'm going to take the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to take the W. So I'm just going to copy it, click where I want it. This will also help me to stay the layer that I want to, and I'll just hit Command V, which is paste, and it pasted that right in there. I'm going to get rid of title because I'm not going to use it as a font. I'm going to use my title as these, and obviously they're too big, and that's all the W, that's all the uppercase I'm going to use. So I'm going to close that. I always like to keep everything closed. It's just one of those nitpicky things that I have. I don't like a whole lot of files open at once. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the E, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste. And then I will pull it up to where it goes, and I like to keep them together. Now I'm going to duplicate this by hitting Option Drag. And like I was saying, I like to keep them together because I'm going to select them all and make them smaller. Obviously this is going to be too big for our layout. This is just weak. That's pretty darn big. So week, and I've used all of those, so I'm going to close that one out, and now I'm going to get my numbers. I'm going to get my 0 and my 1. Here's my 1. Again, copy and paste. Drag up, and going to grab my 0, which is way over here. Here's my 0. Copy and paste. So now I have week 10, and it's awfully big. Go ahead and close this. I'm going to choose them all. So click on each, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down and click on each one, and then we'll select all of them. You can see they're all selected here. And I'm going to hit Command T. It's going to take all of those, and it's going to shrink them uniformly. That's really important because you want your letters to look like they belong together. You don't want your W big and your E small, and unless that's the look you're looking for. You want it to be kind of crazy and off kilter. But for the most part, you want your numbers. Typically, your numbers are bigger than the font. I don't know exactly why, but I noticed from looking at different things that the numbers seem to be bigger. That's okay, but keep it as uniform as possible. So now I've got these all selected, and if I keep moving it around, they'll all come together. What I learned working on last week is that if I actually choose one of my drop shadow techniques, it'll do them all at once. I thought I had to do them every time, all the time. So I like them to look like paper. So I use my paper, and I'm using some styles that I purchased. Her name is Wendy Tanusin. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. But she has a whole bunch of them, and she did them in 4 different angles. That's the angle of the light. So 45 degrees, the light's coming from 45 degrees. She also has negative 45, she has positive 120, and negative 120. I personally love 45. I think it looks very realistic. So I like to keep the 45s together. And really, really important, it's super, super important, especially if you're new, keep your shadows coming from the same way. Don't change your light source. If you think about when you're in a room, the light is coming, right now I'm sitting at my desk and the light is coming from the top. So everything is going to be shadowed and lit up from the top. You don't want to have a shadow coming from the left and a shadow coming from the right and a shadow coming from on top, because then it doesn't look real and you kind of don't, it doesn't feel right. So make sure that when you use shadows, you use the same direction of light every time. Now I can show you, I'll just open up the drop shadow thing right here and see how it says angle 45 degrees. Now watch over here as I change the angle. I'm going to change it just a little bit. See how the 0? See what happened with the 0 here? Now the shade is up on top because I did it basically 90 degrees. Now I'm going to go another 15 degrees, and it's going to show over here more because I'm going to take it to negative 180. Now see how it changed? When you move this, it changes the shadow. Now I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want it to change. I want it to be back to the way it was. Okay, so make sure you do that. That's really important. Now I'm going to separate them out because I want to now place the 10 where I want it to be, which I would like it to be here, but I don't want it to be under that. So I'm going to have to take these, and I'm going to have to pull it up until it's over that layer. Now, see, here we go. Since I didn't label all of these, a lot of people will go back and they'll label their papers. I don't ever do that, but there are people who do that, and that's something that's real important to them and to their scrapping. So if you want to do that so you can find things easier, then be my guest. That's just not something that I do. Okay, now I like the way this looks, week and 10. So I do 2 things. I've already got a shadow on for each one of them, and you want to, when you're doing when you're doing an alpha and they overlap, you want to make sure that every one of them has the same drop shadow so that it looks like they're on top of each other, so that they're overlapping. Once that's done, I like to group it, so I hit my Command and E, and that's merging the layers together. But then I want to go back in and I want to do paper again and give it another drop shadow. That really makes the whole thing, it brings it together, and I just like the look better. Now, some people do some really fun things with their shadows. I'm not the greatest at it yet, but I'm going to show you a trick that I'm learning how to work with. First of all, you right click on the drop shadow and you create another layer. And it says, it makes a new drop layer. See this? Right here. So that's the drop shadow. Now I'm going to select that and I'm going to hit Command T. See how it made a bounding box around it? I'm going to go up to Edit and I'm going to transform and I'm going to warp it. Now what this does is it gives you all these little points around here. And let's say I want this right here to look like it's lifting off the page. I can click on this and see how the shadow moves. I could pull it over, can pull it down, can push it in, can move it all around at each one of these points. I can make everything, I can make the shadow change so it looks like, some people like things to look like they're peeling up off the plate, off the paper, not the plate. And so you just play around with it until you like what you see, then you hit return, and it's giving you a little bit of some dimension. And what I do after that is I click both of them and I combine them. I Command E so that I don't, if I decide I want to move this, the shadow won't go with it unless I have connected them together. So here's my week 10. And that's it for the alpha. And go back and get our elements. Now this is the fun part. Everything else is just kind of getting used to and getting ready. But I love this part. This is my favorite part. So Dagi has a heart here, and I want to put this life here. Oh, I like the fact, one of the things I like about her templates is everything seems to be the right size. You know, she's not overly big with things or too tiny with other things. So I typically will leave her sizing, and I'll try to size whatever element I pick and try to size it to what she had it. So this right here is a button, but it's big. So I try button and see if I like that, and I also try acrylic because I think acrylics look really nice too. And then finally I will take a look at a large element, and that's way too big. So typically I either go acrylic or, where did my button go? And I think I like the button, so I'm going to leave the button there. And let us see what flowers. The next thing is to choose the one. We have the one word art there, and there's something that I think I want to do as I'm looking through the options available here. I think I want to change this right here, and I want to pull this in. I think that this is perfect for this spot right here. This is my everyday. And you know, we're talking about this Project 52 is all about our everyday. And I hadn't wanted to do these for a long time. And the reason for that was that I didn't feel that I had a really exciting life. People have like 5, 6 kids, and they have a job, and they have all these things that they go and they do. But my life is pretty, not to say anything negative about it, but it's pretty sedate. It's that we don't do a whole heck of a lot. We have one car, we share the car, we homeschool. There's not a lot of things that we go out and do. And one of my friends just said, look, take pictures of the slightest little thing. And so this week I have some pictures of the very mundane but beautiful and blessed life that we have. So this is my everyday. I think works really well there. So I'm glad to change that there. So let's get some leaves and start working on those flower piles. I think these leaves are too big, so we'll take these here. And again, I just love the way Dagi is so good with her proportions of things. I'm kind of nitpicky about it. I don't know why. I guess I'm a little bit of a nitpicky person. Never thought I was, but I'm beginning to think that I'm a lot more persnickety and particular than I ever thought I was. But that's me. That's where I am. That's who I am. And let's get this guy smaller. And I have him way too high. So see, the leaf is there. So I need to pull this all the way down to leaf. And so then I will click on it, delete hers, leave mine there, and get my drop shadow on there. I'm going to get rid of her flowers because I know that I'm going to put a flower on top of that. And I also want this one to go above that photo because I want it to kind of go over. I love overlapping things. So we've got that. And the flowers we have our choices of are all of these right here. And because I have red there, I'm going to try this green one here. Actually, I don't want to try the green because there's so much green in that. I'm going to do the red one, so it'll tie to the red next to it. Pull this over. And that's big for that leaf. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit, and I'm actually going to bring the leaf up a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bigger. So I think it needs to be bigger. So we've got that flower, and let's get a nice contrast and pick this flower. This one over here. Let that be a big one. Now because that one's pretty big, I'm going to pull this one on top. I don't know. I don't know if that one fits. I don't think so. Maybe it's just that it was too big. Maybe I got rid of it too quickly. Let's see. Let's do this one. Again, let's make this one smaller. Pull this over. And I'll have that one be a medium and this one be a small because they're on top of each other. So when things are on top, they're going to be farther away from the paper, so their shadow is going to be bigger. So you have to also remember that if you're looking for realism, some people, it doesn't matter to them. They don't really care. They're scrapping their memories, and it's not like this big old graphic design thing that I'm making it out to be. And that's okay. Everybody does things differently, and they do what works best for them. For me, I have to have the realism. I have to. That is kind of my challenge. That when I started scrapping, that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted somebody to look at my pages when they were done and wonder if they were real or if they were digital. That was important to me. So I've worked really hard in my scrapping life to make sure that what I see is realistic looking. If that's not your aim, don't even worry about it. Ignore what I've said and do what works best for you. I'm just sharing with you what works best for me. And that's the beauty of scrapping. You can take the same kit and do something so different with it. And I love that. I truly do. I'm going to try this one anyway and possibly do it here. Obviously this is way too big, but this may just work here. Again, I'll get rid of hers and put my leaf in there. Hello, leaf. Interesting. Hello, leaf. There we go. We're going to delete the flowers. Did it again. I'm going to delete the flowers here. Keep that here. I'm going to pull this over a little because I'm going to have journaling there. Excuse me. And I think I'm going to pick these, drag these down. I'm going to put these in front of that. So we need to have it, we need to put them in front of the leaf. And again, this is where not naming the things kind of gets me in trouble. Here's two pretty flowers. And we put a little curly ribbon in there. I just love the curly ribbons. I'm so glad that they're in right now and that people like them. I just think it gives it a little visual interest that isn't always there. And I think it's still a little bit too big. And the other thing I like to do is I like to paste it down somewhere. So first I'm going to get my curly ribbon, and then I'm going to get, back over here, I'm going to get a button and put it on top of where it meets the ribbon, so it looks like it's holding down the ribbon. Again, this is my realism bone coming in. I like things to have a reason for being there, and this is a button. I'll put it there. And I think I'd like this to go under here. And I might just do a different flower. Try this flower. Yeah, I like the flower better. And honestly, I don't know that this works. It works better with these kind of flowers, so I think I'm going to tuck it in underneath here. Tuck it in under them. Wherever those flowers went. There we go. Have it tucked in there. I like that, and I like the way it kind of joins in with the leek there. Now this one, turn this. I don't like this. I'm going to give you a medium flower. Tuck it under there. And usually there's a thing that people call a rule of 3, where you typically have 3 flowers or 3 of this or 3 of that to make a bunch. I like doing that. It's not necessary, obviously. You don't have to do it. That's the beauty about scrapping. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything at all that you don't want to. You can choose what you want to do, how you want to do it, where you want to place it. It's all up to you. And again, you don't even have to use you don't have to use a template. You can start from scratch. And there are a lot of layouts that I do from scratch as well. And one of my design teams, created by Jill, doesn't like us to use templates at all. She wants everything that we do to be straight from our hearts and from our creativity. And I think that's a great idea. I have grown as a scrapper so much more than I ever thought I could from joining in on her creative team, because I had to stretch myself. And I've noticed that in some of the other creative teams that I was on, I was starting to really rely on the templates. And as I'm growing in my scrapping, I'm realizing templates are awesome. I love templates, and I will never, ever, ever give them up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing a guest stint with someone who does templates pretty much exclusively. And I am so looking forward to that. That's just going to be amazing. I like the fact that that option is there. And with my Project 52s, it's necessary for me. I'm not really good at thinking outside of the box where those are concerned. So I have the flowers put on, and now these two buttons here, I'm going to put buttons. I'm not going to use hers. I'm going to use these two buttons. I think these are just fabulous. Not so bad. Okay. I already have this one done, now that I think about it, so I'm just going to throw this one away. I'm going to duplicate this one by Option Command. Pull that over. I'm going to make this one smaller. And we're going to put those two right here. And I don't think that they're the same size, so this is what I do. I pull down a guide, and they match at the top. They do not match at the bottom, so this one needs to be bigger. So pull him out to the guide, go up when View, Clear Guides, and they're gone. Bye-bye. You need your drop shadow, and I'm going to, again, I'm the threes lady. One thing about buttons that I recommend doing also is that, especially if the person who's designed the kit has actually put thread in it, move them around a little bit so that the thread isn't always going the exact same way, so it doesn't look like it's an exact copy. That's just another one of my things that I like to do. Now I'm going to select all three of them, and I'm going to put them so that they're touching both. And we have this chevron here, and we have these chevrons. I'm going to use this one because I use more of those colors than I used the muddy, the clay, and the white. I use the more bold colors, so I'm going to use this. And boy, it's quite big, quite large. So I'm going to make that be a lot smaller. And I'm going to line up the crease right there. I think I'm going to pull this down a little. Line up the crease, pull it down a little, and I don't want that corner to be showing. And this one is similar to a banner. I think, no, banner is too big. See how you want to take a look at the drop shadows and see what they're actually doing. And if they're if it's supposed to be paper and it's way off the page, then it's not realistic enough for me. So I'm going to leave that one there, and we should play a little drinking game about how many times Susan says "so" in a video. I really need to work on that. I'm going to get rid of this word art here, and I am going to try something that someone had showed me how to do. Still not, no, you know what? I'm not ready for the washi yet. I didn't practice that enough. I am going to try this. I'll pull this right over here. And this is just a paper. That's just a paper. It doesn't need any more than that. And I like to make a little bit of a, using the burn tool. First I have to rasterize the shape. That's simply, it's a smart object. It simply means that I can do something to it. When you drag something in, it makes it a smart object, and you can't do anything to it until you rasterize it and take it out of the smart object. So what I'm going to do is I have an exposure 100, and I'm going to darken just the edge so it looks like maybe it's folding over a little bit, and with the shadows. It may be it may not even be something that anybody really sees but me, but it's something that I've worked on doing. Okay. I am not sure about this ribbon. Do I still want it to be there? Do I want it to be over weak? So let me see what that will look like before I make the decision if I want to keep it or not. It could go nicely on this one though. I think I'm going to like it better on this one, if I can ever find out where it was. Okay, you need to go below the flowers. There we go. I think that's much better. And the only thing I really have left is the journaling, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. So I'm going to keep with the theme and have the same leaves throughout everything. I think it just works better. Again, it's my trying to be uniform and concise and all of that fun stuff. And I'm still not sure about the placement of this. I'm actually kind of, no. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit Edit, Transform, and I want to rotate this 180 degrees so it's pointing up. And I'm going to put it right there. Then I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to Edit, Transform, and I'm going to go 90 degrees counterclockwise, and I'm going to put it right here. And I like that a lot. Sometimes you just need to change it up a little bit. I like that. Okay. The only problem I'm going to have is if I, it could be a problem with the journaling. We'll see. So I am going to pause here, and I'm going to go find my other last week, and then I'm going to start up again. Okay, I'm back. I went ahead and got last week's and brought the journaling over and brought the date spread over and went ahead and did that, so you didn't have to see me playing around with it. But basically, I added our dates here, brought my font in, and also, my journaling. And it says, this week was pretty normal one for us, driving Daddy into work in his new Hillary for Prison t-shirt that he just absolutely loves, and everybody is commenting on it and laughing and whatever. So no offense if you're voting for her. We all have our different reasons for why we vote for who we vote for. Not to get political here. More school, etc. But we did have a few different experiences. We went out to the M for an expensive and yummy buffet. That's what this glass of wine is about. We saw the first bloom of the season on our front porch, which is this nice little blurry picture. The first dandelion to wish upon, right here. The birth of a toy dinosaur from an egg, here and here. A huge grocery shopping trip, and ended up with the dreaded trip to the DMV to get plates for our car. So there it is, week 10, using Dagi's Temptations, day by day, template number 2, starting from here, before and after. And again, we were using Colie's Corner, Love This Life, GingerScraps. Both are available at GingerScraps. I want to thank you for joining us. And I just shut my regular file. Could be scary, but I know that I hit save, which is very important. I didn't mention it in the video as we were doing it this time, but save, 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 save. Continue to save. Always save your work. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Sorry for a few of the interruptions, and I hope I'm getting a little bit quicker, and I hope that I have given you some good tools that might help you in your scrapping. So keep on scrapping. Thanks for visiting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.